I absolutely hate working on the floor, so I often sit on the 5-gallon buckets. But then you lose mobility and nothing can be stored around you. You gotta set them up on surfaces and then they're out of the way, and sometimes you gotta stand up and adjust the bucket. So I decided that in this video I was going to make a kind of like a mechanic stool, but a woodworkers version of it. It's going to be a stool that's got casters so I can move it around, unlike the bucket. And it's going to have 2 drawers. That way I can keep some tools that I would likely use, like a pencil, a set of drill bits, okay, like that kind of stuff. Maybe a mallet or something. So here you can see I'm just trying to use the leftover scraps from when I was doing the miter saw station. At this point, the station still isn't done, but it's as far as my last video was. So I had some scraps that aren't going to be used in the next part of that video, the part 2 video. So that's what I'm using. Just trying to make them work on what I have. So here you can see I'm cross-cutting these the best I can. I'm using my stock guides that I mentioned in the last video just to help with any possible kickback or anything, or squeezing on the blade, just because I don't have a riving knife. So here you can see, as I'm cutting this one to its final width, I have painter's tape telling me what each part is, and then just like my miter saw station, I'll be attaching all of these sections together with pocket hole screws. So again, trying to figure out filming pocket holes. It's just, haven't figured out a good angle. I just think it's not a very interesting thing. So here I'm putting the drawer slides on. I had some extra 10-inch drawer slides from an old project I did for somebody. So here I'm putting to use a few of them. Just again using my spacing block, and I set them up mirror image to each other and just lined them up facing each other that way, which it worked. And here I'm using a right angle clamp, which I'm a big fan of. It's a Wolfcraft brand, got it at Menards, and you just put the 2 pieces on there and it holds them at a right angle so you can get the glue on and get the screws in there. I only had one of them at the time of making this. Definitely would have been nice to have more than one, since it lifts them up about an inch on that other spot. So you can see there it tilts forward when you're not holding it, since I don't have another one the same size. So here you can see I just set the sides and back onto what's going to be the bottom. I left like 3 inches on either side for the casters to be added, and then the top I just gave a little 1-inch overhang, and then I went crazy with the brads like I always do. So here I was not thinking, and I drilled holes for my casters way too far in. So once I got these on there, it was a little tippy. So you'll see me put these on and they're all too far in. And then off camera I had to drill new holes. So you'll see that I have some extra holes later on, and that's why. I did not plan that part out very well. But these casters I stole off of a dust collector that used to be on wheels, and I ended up mounting it on the wall. So not the best casters, but I was using scraps and extra stuff, so I was putting to use, and you can see it lets me spin. So there's at least enough mobility there. I'll probably upgrade the casters at some point, but these will get me by long enough. Here, these are the drawer box sides. I'm just taking the burrs off because I still have the wrong blade in my miter saw, and it does not leave a good cut on these veneered plywoods. So you can see I'm using veneered oak because it is scraps from my miter station, but I try to keep them all the same. So all my projects that I will be doing for shop furniture wise are all going to be veneered oak, because at the time I had a lot of it before COVID made the price go up so high. Here I'm just measuring for the drawer bottom, which I just used 1/4-inch plywood. Definitely more reasonable than the 3/4 inch that I used on the miter saw station. And then I just glued and brad nailed them on there. Then the drawer slides, I just use my square to help me line it all up. Make sure it's straight. I have a line drawn down the center, so that's what I'm lining up that hole to. And then I was able to slide them in once I figured out I needed to hold it so it wouldn't fall off the table. There, it moved on me and I had to adjust. It was a little awkward when one drawer slides on already and then it's no longer flat on the table. But there you can see how I did that. Now I'm measuring for my drawer faces. I tried to be fancy and get it all out of one piece so it had a continuous grain. I was just wanting to try it, I guess. It's not how I ended up doing the drawer faces for the miter saw station, but thought it was worth a try. And then, even though it was shop furniture, I decided to put some edge banding on there. This is just looks good for me. I don't like seeing the plywood. Definitely not needed step, but I decided I would do it. So I just iron it on. This is just the stuff you get from, I think I got this one from Menards, whatever their brand is. And I just iron it on and use my flush cut from Fast Cap to get them all flush, and I rub it on the table. Some people have the rollers. I've never bought the rollers. I just put it on a flat surface like my miter saw station and move it around so it cools down, and then trim it off with my trim tool. And it was at this point where I realized edge banding really wasn't necessary, and I did not plan for it from the get-go. Would have been way smarter for me to do this edge banding before I assembled all these pieces, but I did not. So I had to work around what was already there. So instead of being able to use my nice edge trimmer tool, I had to use my box cutter and just shave them off, which makes a lot more sanding, because as you can see, it's not as clean as I would have wanted. But here I like to go over and just kind of merge the edge banding with the plywood by sanding after I've trimmed it. The friction of the sandpaper keeps the glue warm, and this kind of gives it a better transition, makes it look more seamless than if I was just have it. So here you can see I glued them onto the drawer faces. I put in a couple brad nails to hold it in place so that I can pull it out and put screws in from the back. So as I'm pulling it out, the brads aren't super strong, so I put the squeeze clamps on it to make sure it doesn't move or slip down while I'm drilling and screwing these in. I'm just using pocket hole screws because I had a ton of them, and they're just a good screw. And there you have it. This is what it looks like right now. I think I'll get around and add some like magnetic tool holders on the side and do some sort of organizer to hide those extra holes from where I was not very smart and put the wheels in too far. So there you go.